Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm going to show you how I tie one of my yarn balls, also known as a glow bug. There's lots of different ways you can tie these. If you watch some of my videos, you'll see me use them fishing. Basically, they're a ball of yarn that's on your hook that resembles kind of like eggs or whatever. I'm not exactly positive what they're supposed to resemble. I just know that they work well and the fish bite them. And there's lots of different ways of tying them. People use crazy thread and all kinds of different stuff. But I do it a little bit different. I do mine are attached to the hook and still have the egg loop so you can attach your bait. And I use all kinds of different bait with them. I use eggs with them, sand shrimp. I've used worms with them, all kinds of different stuff. So, and they just seem to work. I think a lot of it has to do with the neutral buoyancy because it's just yarn. And so it becomes neutral buoyant in the water. And so when you cast it out, it gets right down on those fish's face. It doesn't float up like corkies do. It doesn't bounce on the bottom like a bead does. It's neutral. So it's like right in the middle of the water column. And I think that's what's important about it and why it works so well. So what you're going to need is a hook, of course, and some leader, and a pair of scissors, and that's it. And then some fuzzy yarn. That's what I call it, glow bug yarn. I will have a link in the description where you can find this on Amazon and buy it. It's really good stuff. My personal favorite colors that I've caught the most fish on are white with a red or orange eye. Sometimes orange with a white eye, but I like to have the color combination of white, orange, and red on them. So you can do whatever colors you like. I know pink's pretty popular. Pink with a white eye is pretty popular. There's all kinds of different colors you can use. So what you need to do, what I do, is I start off by cutting my yarn, and I cut it about 2.5 to maybe 3 inches long, and I will cut, gee whiz, these scissors are dull from cleaning clams. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll cut 4 for the body, and then I like to cut 1 for the eye of whatever color. And I think on this one, I'm going to use, I'll go ahead and use orange. And I have fished these in all kinds of different rivers, and everywhere I've gone and used them, I've had luck with them. So that's been my luck. I don't know if you'll have the same results depending on where you live, I guess. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so in the Pacific Northwest rivers, this combo right here has been my favorite and caught the most fish. And there's a lot of reasons that I believe for it. I believe that the white and the orange, I believe it can resemble eggs from salmon that are rolling down the river. They're kind of always like a palish orangish color. Also this time of year, salmon are dying in the rivers and their flesh turns white, and there's little bits and pieces of flesh roll down the water right on the rivers. And I think that attracts also steelhead because I think they eat those little bits and pieces, and trout and stuff like that. And then also, since I'm putting eggs on there, I think what happens is you get the smell of the eggs get in that yarn, and even if the eggs fall off, they'll smell that egg smell on there, and they'll still bite it. And when I'm talking about eggs, I'm talking about salmon roe, of course. And anyway, you want to have sharp scissors. Unfortunately, my scissors aren't super extremely sharp. And I don't recommend tying these on the shore of the river. I recommend tying them in advance of going fishing because it can be kind of a pain. Anyway, I think this is a size 2 octopus hook. You could use any size you want. I prefer larger sizes for salmon and steelhead. So you run your leader through, and you're going to pass the end of the hook. And we're going to start by just like you're tying a regular egg loop. And you can check out my video on tying an egg loop. So you're going to just pass like that. And then I do 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can do more or less depending on how big an egg loop you want. And then you take the other end of your leader and you run it right back through the eye of the hook. And it's about to get difficult here in a second, boys. Sorry. And my voice is kind of weird today. Little froggy. Anyway, so you pull that down so you have a loop. And you have a loop like that. And you can't let go of that end, because if you do, your leader's just going to blow and cause a big mess. So you want to keep that tight. And then you pull that out like that to get you a bigger loop. And you take that yarn and you try to center it in that loop, about in the center of your yarn. And then you start tying like an egg loop knot. So you want to wrap it the same direction that you wrapped your line. So 1, and this leader's really stiff. Put my scissors on it like that just to keep it. So 1, 2, and I'm going around the yarn and around the end of the hook, but it's not agreeing with me. So sometimes you got to wrap it around like that so you can hold it with your hand. So I have it wrapped around, so I'm holding it with my hand, shrinking this down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and then take your yarn, fold it out of the way, and then you're tying your finishing knot. 1, 2, 3, and then you pull that tight, and it should cinch around everything and still leave you with an egg holder loop, which it does. As you can see, I can pull that out. And still get a loop to hold your eggs. And you really want to cinch that down because you don't want that yarn to slide out of there. It should stay pretty good. And then what you do, I don't know if these scissors will do it, then you want to trim it up into a yarn bug or whatever you want to call it, a yarn ball. You want to make a ball. So you're going to cut a bunch of excess off of here. And they make a popping tool, I guess. I don't even know what that is. I've never seen one that you can pop these with. I guess that helps make them better. But I have a tool that I'm going to use right now to help trim that up to make it look a little nicer. Dig it around in my pockets. I'm sure you guys know what it's going to be. It's going to be this guy right here. Let's see if these scissors on this will cut this any better. But you just want to trim it up till you get a nice little ball, and that's not working either. All right, we're going in with the next tool, scissors. I know that they will cut this just right. Just like this. Oh yeah, much better. And cinch that up there, make sure that, and then you just trim it up till you get shape of a ball. with a nice orange eye in the middle of it. And I like to trim a lot of it out of the way of the point of the hook, because the last thing I want is it getting in the way of a fish to be able to get the point of the hook in its mouth. And like I said, there's other ways you can do this. You can do these with, they call it crazy thread or slinky thread or something like that. And you can actually make them without them being on your hook, so they slide onto your leader. I've never tried that. There's videos, other videos on YouTube on how to make these. I learned it from watching Glenn Hall on Hog Quest. And they just caught the heck out of steelhead and stuff with these. And so I was like, oh, I got to try them. And so I tied me a bunch of them up in red because I wanted to use them with salmon eggs for king salmon. And me and a friend of mine went king salmon fishing with them. And man, we killed them with them. They just killed it. Like you'd only need a little tiny gob of eggs, and you had this big red and orange Yarnball on here. And they would just eat it, eat it, eat it. And so I started using them with the eggs all the time for salmon. And then we went and I remember I tied up some of these orange and white ones like this. And that winter we went steelhead fishing in this drift boat. And I hooked 3 steelhead that day on these. And I was like, wow, these work pretty good. So then I went to the Clearwater one day, and I didn't really have any eggs. I just had sand shrimp, and I drove way up to Clearwater and found a really nice spot to fish. And I cast, and like on my first cast, I got bumps, and it ripped my sand shrimp right off. And so I was like, oh, well, that's weird. So I took another cast with just a yarn ball and no bait, and bam, steelhead on. It just nailed it. And I've had steelhead chase this through the water like a spinner, try to eat it on several occasions. So it kind of turned into my go-to for steelhead, especially on the rivers up north like the Clearwater and the Hoe and the Queets and stuff like that. These work really, really well. And there you go. And now we'll pretend, I'm going to cut a little piece off here and pretend like it's a piece of bait. Except this will probably work better. So now what you can do is going to pretend like this is a little gob of eggs or bait or whatever, so you can put your hook through it like that. And then you can get your bait loop ready. Like that. Put your bait on. Put your loop around your bait. Cinch it up tight, and now it's holding your bait on there too. And works just amazing. Works really good. So one of my favorites. I know this probably isn't the best production video ever of tying one. I will do more if you want to see more. Excuse me. And there will be many more videos of hopefully you seeing me catch fish with these, especially when the steelhead start coming in, because this is one of my favorites. I've got coho salmon, I've got king salmon, I've got steelhead, I've got lots of trout on them, all in rivers. I've never really fished them in lakes before, but there it is. This one is not the most prettiest one, but I'm going to sit here and probably trim it up some more. And I like to leave them just a little bit fluffy and then trim as needed. Sometimes when I'm on the bank, I'll trim them down quite a bit. And the more you trim it, as you can see, the more puffy it looks. What you don't want to do is accidentally snip your line. I've done that trying to tie yarn balls before. And you're just kind of going for that white ball with the orange eye. Oh, and look what I did right in front of you. I accidentally clipped my line. But anyway, that's it. That is it. Nice little round ball with a nice little orange eye. The eye's not perfectly centered. Sometimes you get lucky and you get that, but not this time. Anyway, there you go, guys. Yarn ball. Usually the leader is still attached and I don't accidentally cut it, but trying to do this in front of a phone or a camera is very, very difficult. And then you just throw all this other scrap chunk away, and there you have it. Okay, we had a real good time on my live feed. I will be live feeding again this Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Come check it out. Also, if you want to read my fishing reports on local rivers in the Pacific Northwest, you can check out toadsticker.com. There's fishing reports, there's gear stuff on there, there's lists of gear with links so you can find some of the gear that I use and find the links on Amazon. I get a slight little tiny percentage, like pennies on the dollar, if you buy some stuff on Amazon using my links. So if you do that, I greatly appreciate it. I keep trying to add more and more stuff. I will have links below on this Yarnball yarn and hooks and leader line. So go ahead and check that out. Anyway, happy Monday. I hope you guys are having a great week. Clam digging starts for me on Wednesday, and we're gonna do a clam digging catch and cook video. I've also got clams out of the freezer from last year right now that I'm going to smoke. So I may do a video of that as well so you can see how I do smoked clams. Anyway, please like, please subscribe, please comment down below, and have a fantastic day.